I'd seen a couple of her films, Lutera, Akira, even Dabang as a newcomer, and I knew that she's got immense range, right? It's just that people are not possibly tapping into it or pushing her to go beyond what they may be comfortable with. Sonakshi should be able to do it. That's why I wanted to work with her, not just because she's my sister. And I think even from the reviews I've read, a lot of critics have mentioned that this is probably one of her best performances. So regarding Saiyaara and Saiyaara for me, a couple of days ago, some people started putting out reports claiming that I had criticized or blamed Saiyaara.
But I read your entire quote. Yeah,
Nikita,
yeah.
I mean, I think I've been part of this industry long enough to know I can appreciate other people's success also. That doesn't mean I'm upset or I'm, selfish about my film only. I mean, I'm very happy that Saiyaara has done well. I'm very happy that newcomers have come into the industry.
In the end, whatever you do, there will be this tag of, you are somebody's son.
So that pressure was never there on me. I mean, I'm very appreciative of my dad's achievements, what he's done. I think very few people have managed in films and in politics. I'm also very appreciative of Sonakshi's talent and her achievements in the film industry. But again, those are their achievements. I can't criticize somebody else because, again, they have their own path to walk. And maybe, like my dad always says, right, there's a luck factor. Sometimes you and me might be wondering that why is somebody getting 10 chances? But maybe that's part of their luck. Dad has taught me this a long time ago. He said, hey, you have to take it with a sense of humor sometimes. Sometimes people write things that are extremely funny and extremely untrue, and you can't keep responding to everything that somebody writes.
Hi, Kush. How have you been?
I've been good. How have you been?
Good, good. Welcome to Free Press Journal. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me on your platform.
Yeah. So how is it going, Kush? I read a couple of reviews for Nikita Roy, and of course, for the direction part of it, a lot of people have praised the way you've directed, and it being your first proper feature film, it's a huge deal, right, for any director to get that kind of appreciation. Um, how did you, did it get overwhelming when you read such reviews in the beginning?
No, I'm just grateful that, I would say our hard work, because I think making a film is teamwork at the end of the day. I can't take all the credit for it. Sure, the director has a large part in putting it together eventually. Once the shooting is done, then you sit with an editor, then you sit with the sound designer. But eventually it is teamwork. So I'm very grateful that people appreciated the hard work that we put into making the film. Not overwhelming per se, because I think I'm sort of, at least my working style is I'm very analytical regarding my work. So I mean, I'm grateful for the praise, but I wasn't anticipating it in any way. I wasn't looking. I mean, obviously I was pretty clear in my mind that we've managed to put together something that's interesting and new and fresh. But I'm just grateful that people have appreciated our work.
Got it. For any filmmaker, there are a couple of things that defines success when they make a movie. It can be the critical reaction, what the critics have to say, the audience reaction, or the box office response. As a director who's a first time director, how do you measure the success like?
I mean, to be honest, because we're working with producer, right? Anytime any director is working with the producer, I think our responsibility does come into play where we do try to bring the film in time and on budget. I think that's very important as a first-time director or as a sort of 10th-time director, whatever you may be. So that was definitely in my mind or on my mind when we were making the film. Box office success, I mean, to be honest, I don't think anybody can anticipate how any film will do. I've said this before, so I think if every producer or every director knew how to make a hit film every time at the box office, they'd be churning out hit film after hit film and they never have to worry about the outcome, right? So that's something that's not entirely in our control. But yes, I mean, we would appreciate or we would like it if films also do well at the box office. But I think often at times, sometimes films don't do that well at the box office for various reasons, unforeseen circumstances, etc., etc. But people do end up appreciating them, which I think in the case of Nikita Roy, obviously we had to deal with a lot of unforeseen circumstances when we released. There were other films that came out at the same time also, and I do want to congratulate them though. I mean, Saiyaara and YRF both. I will congratulate the makers and the team behind Saiyaara and YRF for making that film and bringing it out at such a big level. So we did have to deal with our own challenges, but like you said, I think whoever's seen Nikita Roy, whoever's reached out to me, they've really appreciated the fact that we made a good film, a unique film, and even like you mentioned that even direction-wise or even cinematography-wise, even background score, music, editing, a lot of people have appreciated the technical aspects of the film. So we're very grateful for that.
Firstly, I need to tell this. I have watched all three movies that released on the same day, Tanvi the Great, Saiyaara, and
Okay,
Nikita Roy. And I feel so even Tanvi the Great is a beautiful movie. Of course, it's such a beautiful subject. I feel about Nikita Roy that it is a very underrated genre that not many people have the courage to try today. In India especially, we always go to West for such films, but
right.
it's a brilliantly made movie, and so is Sayara. It's a it's a comedy
Yeah,
film, and
take
sorry, it's a
film.
romantic film, and it has its own audience. I feel all these three movies have its own different separate audience, but
Right.
as a viewer, as a critic, I feel if these three films released maybe 2 to 3 weeks apart, they
Mm.
would do much more brilliantly. That is what I feel. What do you think? Do you think sometimes these clashes are not that great for us after all?
I mean, ideally, I think any filmmaker or producer would want that their film has a clear window at the box office, right? Because, I mean, when you have to sort of juggle for space with other entities or other studios, I mean, that's always going to have an effect to some degree. But again, the reality is, I don't think in the last 1 year, I think very few films have got a single window at the box office. They've got a sort of a clear runway for them to run.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of the business today. You can't avoid it. But yes, I would agree that, possibly at times it would be better if people have that sort of clear window at the box office. But again, not entirely my call. Other stakeholders also involved in making that decision on when they want to release, on which date they want to
Mm.
come out. So yeah, I mean, ideally, sure, we'd all love it. I think every maker would love it if he had an individual window at the box office to come out with his film. But in reality, I don't think that's possible anymore. There are too many films being made.
Yeah. You know, um, each time I've met Sonakshi, I've told her that she has this incredibly huge potential. And it's just a matter, like when we watched Hira Mandi, my mind was blown. I feel for an actor like hers, we need to get the right script, the right story for her because she, as an actress, is a brilliant one, right?
Right.
Do you think even with Nikita Roy and you going and offering her this movie and with the kind of work that she's done in this one, there's action involved, there's so many emotional,
Right.
balances involved. Um, Now we're finally at that stage where we can also, all of us as an audience, also can see her correct, like true fullest potential.
Right. So that was very clear in my mind because I've known her not just as a brother, but also as a viewer, right? I always knew that her full potential, at least in my opinion, as a viewer, was not being tapped. There are various reasons why that happens sometimes. Sometimes directors generally don't want to push stars beyond the point, because there's certain apprehension that, what will happen on set and all of that. But I was very clear because I'd seen a couple of her films, Lutera, Akira, even Dabang as a newcomer, and I knew that she's got immense range, right? It's just that people are not possibly tapping into it or pushing her to go beyond what they may be comfortable with. Because I think she, like in Nikita Roy example, like you mentioned, for example, she's exhibited immense range. Like she's emotionally layered the character with so much depth. At the same time, she's done action. She's also dealing with fear and reaction to unseen elements and all of that. So I was very clear. That's why I wanted to work with her because I knew she'd be able to do justice to the character. Because if you look at Nikita Roy as a character, also, it's very layered. She's emotionally
True.
broken. She's also very stubborn. She's also, in some ways, overconfident. And you need an actor who can bring all these elements to life through their performance. So I knew Sonakshi would be able to do it. That's why I wanted to work with her, not just because she's my sister. And I think even from the reviews I've read, a lot of critics have mentioned that this is probably one of her best performances so far with
Yeah.
regards to the range and the emotional layering that her character has. So, I'm happy we could collaborate and bring that out together.
I feel this way, and correct me if I'm wrong, about a lot of actors who are brilliant artists. They know their art, they know how to act, they are good at their job. But it's sometimes disheartening to see that the right kind of scripts don't go. And Sonakshi herself has spoken about this. Pariniti has spoken about these. This There are so many actors today. I feel that if given the right opportunity, things will do wonders for them. What do you feel? Why do you feel this happens? Because you yourself are a filmmaker, you know the behind the scenes of the business. Why do you think that when we know the actor has the right potential to do something, but that person's not offered the right work?
I think it's a matter of choice, right? Sometimes actors might end up making choices that aren't the best for them. Sometimes something that's narrated to them or something that's given to them on paper turns out differently when you go on set and shoot. I think that's always been the case, right? What you read or what you hear sometimes translates to reality even better than what it was on paper, and sometimes it doesn't come out the way you expected it to. So again, like I said, so many variables at play. I think that's why what one can do as a director when you're collaborating with an actor is make sure they give their performance, to
Yeah.
the best of their ability. So at least there's an authenticity when they're on screen. At least their performances are appreciated. Uh, I would also say, like for example, like sometimes, like I said, when you push an actor to perform, they generally give enough to you for the audience to be engaged also,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's very important. But again, like I said, I don't think it's the actor's fault always. There's so many variables
Oh,
involved when
that's
you're
true.
making a film and translating it from paper or from the narration to the actual film. So yeah, I don't think it's the actor's fault always. It's just a matter of chance also sometimes.
Yeah, that is true. But Kush, now that the world has seen your work and whoever's you just said, whoever's watched that movie, including myself, I feel whoever's watched it has liked the direction part as well. And now that, of course, people are coming to you praising your work, I think you must be more confident. But when you were starting off and when you were thinking of directing a movie, there's this big pressure. I know some people don't want to take it, but of your surname. When
Mm.
you come from a filmy family, especially from such a big legendary family, and Sonakshi faced it. You have, I'm sure, faced it. How do you cope up with that? Because in the end, whatever you do, there will be this tag of, you are somebody's son.
Right. Well, I don't think that tag can be avoided in any way, but to be honest, and I'm guessing you must have noticed also, I've been the mostly quiet one in the family. I haven't been out there in front, out there basically, sort of displaying my life or putting it all out there because I always believe that, when I do something worthwhile or when I do work, fine, then, you have a right to go out there and talk about it. But just as my personality is, I generally would stay quiet until I'm required to speak or there's a reason to speak. So that pressure was never there on me. I mean, I'm very appreciative of my dad's achievements, what he's done. I think very few people have managed in films and in politics. I'm also very appreciative of Sonakshi's talent and her achievements in the film industry. But again, those are their achievements, and direction is something that neither of them has done. So it doesn't directly put pressure on me. I think for me, the pressure or the sort of concern was more that I need to do this right. I need to do a good job. I need to make sure that people appreciate the work that we put out there. Because, like you said, look, it's a catch-22 situation. I do belong to a particular family and I do have a particular name behind me. But that name also demands that I do a good job or I work hard as everybody else, if not harder, just to prove that I do deserve to have a seat at the table. So that was always in my mind that, I will have to work as hard, if not harder than anyone else, if I'm trying to enter this industry or this line, because that name will always come with me. But there was no pressure behind it, so to say. Because again, like I said, they are actors. It's a whole different
Yeah.
profession.
I'll just quickly take a moment and say that last year I visited your house to meet sir and ma'am, and I had a small
Okay.
shoot with them.
Okay.
And Shatrughan sir was just so proud of his kids when he was talking about you or love or Sonakshi. He had this pride in his eyes, and we were talking about, of course, a lot of more things. And what was his reaction like? Because for any father, their kids doing well, no matter what age they are, we will always be kids for our parents.
Right. Yeah.
What was his first reaction like, and how proud was he when he watched the movie?
He was very happy with the film. Like he did like it from a technical perspective, also from a story and pacing perspective. And I think he's very happy that even all the performances, in spite of such senior actors and me being a new director, like with regards to Paresh ji or Arjun sir, all of them have done such a great performance. I mean, I'll give them the majority of the credit for that because they're all experienced actors. I might have had a very small part to play in ensuring that our vision aligned. But he was very happy with the film in its in totality. I think considering the fact that he's done, I think almost 300 plus films in his career, I don't think he would lie to me or try to mislead me that the film
Of
is
course.
good or he's liked it. So once he liked it, once my mom saw it, she also said, no, it's a good film. It's a very good subject that you've chosen. And it has its own thrill and sort of emotions in the film. I think I was pretty content with that. Yeah, I was very happy about that.
Lovely. On set, how did you draw a line between Kush the director and Kush the brother, because when I don't know about your bond with Sonakshi, but when like I did a project with my sister and we were like, it was a riot because we were fighting all the time, but we were also, helping each other out a lot. How was your chemistry like on set?
Clearly professional, like purely professional, actually. See, on a set, like it's not just me and her alone over there. There are different
Yeah.
team members, different technicians, all of that together. So if I start behaving in a non-professional manner, or say in a manner that's more befitting for home, just because she and me are brother and sister, I don't think that would translate well on set. It might lead others to take things for granted also. So I was very clear. Also, keeping in mind that she's an experienced actor. She's done multiple projects before this. I think she did. I would want to give her that respect as a professional while we're working together. So very easy for me to draw a clean line that we on set. She's an experienced actor. I'm a new director. We're collaborating together on this film. So I made that line very clear. That it's purely a professional environment that we're working in while we're on set. And I think it helped because even with like Paresh sir or in Arjun sir, even like today, I'm still calling them sir because they're very
Yeah.
experienced and senior technicians, and they deserve that respect. So yeah, it was very easy for me to try to like a professional workspace.
Kush, especially in the kind of industry that we are in, the media and the film industry, we go hand in hand. And sometimes when you are a public figure, there are a lot of things apart from your work that you have to deal with. You have to deal with certain media reports, how people report you. You just said you are a very private person, and we know that about you. Of course, Sonakshi is more of a public person, but even she has had to deal with a lot of things. But when your personal life comes into light and into the picture, how do you react? And are you somebody who just shuts it out? Because sometimes I feel that even as the media fraternity, we can be a little irresponsible and report things that are, not maybe confirmed without checking.
I think my dad has taught me this a long time ago. He said, "Hey, you have to take it with a sense of humor sometimes. Sometimes people write things that are extremely funny and extremely untrue, and you can't keep responding to everything that somebody writes. At the same time, this is my belief also that if you know your own truth, right, that if you know that you've done something or you haven't said something and somebody's reporting the opposite of that, I don't think it should affect you. At the most, you'll put out a clarification. I'll give you a recent example. So regarding Saiyaara and YRF only, a couple of days ago, some people started putting out reports claiming that I had criticized or blamed Saiyaara
Yeah, but I
for
read your entire quote. Yeah,
Nikita.
yeah.
I mean, I think I've been part of this industry long enough to know I can appreciate other people's success also, right? Films, like I said, films can have three outcomes. One, commercially and critically, they do extremely well. Two, commercially, they do okay. Critically, they do well. And three, commercially and critically, they don't do well at all. Thankfully, Nikita Roy fell somewhere in option two, where, again, because the challenges we faced, our numbers did get affected, but critically, as you mentioned also, people and viewers and critics, professional critics, have really appreciated the film, the craft behind it, the story, performances, all of that, right? So we did manage to come with option two, but that doesn't mean I'm upset or I'm, selfish about my film only. I mean, I'm very happy that Saiyaara has done well. I'm very happy that newcomers have come into the industry, and I'm very happy for IRF also because they have a huge part to play in our industry's growth. So, when these reports came out, I was like, for a couple of days, I was like, what do I do? But then they kept coming out. So eventually I said, okay, I think I'll have to just put out a brief clarification to put my side out. But most times I think you have to let it go. You can't control everything that comes out there. You just have to know your truth and live with it. That's how I see things.
Yeah, I actually, I'll just take a moment and say I read your entire quote, the original quote, obviously. And it was, oh, I don't know how it was taken out of context, but I completely understand that, these things can sometimes get so tricky that you don't know how to,
Yeah.
respond to that. But lastly, if I ask you, Kush, there's so many things spoken about nepotism. I feel nepotism is only seen in a bad light when somebody who we feel is non-deserving, has no talent,
Right.
enters and is given back-to-back chances. See, one chance is fine, everyone can get that. But to see people get back-to-back chances and we feel they are not deserving. But when you work your way through, like I feel you, all three of you have created your own journeys, right? You have entered into filmmaking, which is not associated with your family as such.
Right.
When you hear this word nepotism, what is your stand on it?
Look, I have two perspectives on it. One, I mean, two ways of looking at it. One is, I agree with you that there's a backlash when people feel that somebody who's not able to deliver the goods or possibly is not that talented is being given multiple chances. So I understand why there's a backlash. It's also because I think we're living in a hyper-connected world currently where people are displaying their wealth without possibly achieving what they're supposed to achieve. You know what I'm saying with regards to their talent
Yeah.
or their abilities. But again, it's a free market. You know, if somebody wants to give somebody 10 chances, that's entirely their call. Who am I to call out somebody? If a producer wants to give somebody 20 chances, whether it's their best friend, son, daughter, nephew, uh, brother, cousin, whatever it may be. That's entirely their chance. And this doesn't just happen in the film industry. I think businessmen do it also. I think even in politics, there's a large component. I think even in sports now, if you're seeing the next
Yes.
generation of cricketers, certain cricketers are related to certain other prominent cricketers.
Mm.
So, I mean, I can't speak for or against it. I can just say that, at least for myself personally, I always knew that I have to work my way through this system to get where I need
Yeah.
to be, and that's what I've done. But again, I can't criticize somebody else because again they have their own path to walk, and maybe like my dad always says, right, there's a luck factor. Sometimes you and me might be wondering that why is somebody getting 10 chances, but maybe that's part of their luck. Maybe that X variable that they have in their life that somebody wants to give them those 10 chances. So it's a free market. I think eventually it's up to the person taking that chance to give someone an opportunity. And then I think hopefully at some point that person getting those multiple opportunities also realize that there are possibly a million people who want this opportunity also
Yeah.
and who might be more deserving. So at least let me try to give it my best and try to improve with the opportunities that I'm getting. I think that should always be at the back of anyone's mind who's gotten a chance in any industry, I would say, where you know that there are a million people who would want to be in your place. I think you should be respectful of it and try to work as hard as you can till you can justify your position at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lastly, of course, before we wrap this, what are you currently working on? I don't know how much you can reveal right now and what is under wraps, but what do you want to maybe a genre that you would like to explore next?
It's a little early right now, but I've got a couple of concepts I am working on. One is
Okay.
horror comedy. One is also a film sort of set around our industry, the film
Oh,
industry.
wow.
And there's one more story about set in a sort of small town space. But yeah, those are the basic concepts right now, but too early to talk about them currently.
Okay.
I also have to kind of get Nikita Roy still out of my system. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's about it though. Yeah.
Okay, but thank you so much for this conversation. It was lovely chatting with you, and
No,
all the
thank you
very
so much
best.
for having me on your show also. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
catch up again. Thank you.
For sure. Take care. Bye bye.